Halfway through the season, a lot of championship points up for grabs, and on top of that, a tight AM championship battle as well. Hello, everybody, and welcome in to upstate New York, Watkins, Glen International, and I'm Jesse Lee, joined by Phil Roberts here on the Thursday broadcast with none other than Christian Stricker behind the cameras. Man, it's always good to be back in New York, and we're very far away from the Big Apple, several hours away from Lower Manhattan, but well, the air's fresh and the racetrack hasn't changed in about 70 years. Phil, I love this place. Obviously, I love this place, but curious what your thoughts are.
I always like Watkins, Jesse. It's certainly of the 4 American tracks in ACC, probably up there with certainly my favorite one. Yeah, it's not that bad. There's certainly a lot of undulation changes, lots of ebbs and flows to it. Very fun racetrack, very challenging, but also not challenging enough that it doesn't, what do you call it, like restrict on the racing that goes on around here.
Folks, it is a road course, I can assure you that, but it is a old school road course. Very few of these type of racetracks have existed in the, survived, I would say, in the past 30 years or so. Most of them have been completely changed. There's not a whole lot different here other than the curbing and the new tarmac that they put in here several years ago. And trust me, this place was desperate for a repave. But beyond that, it is the same as it basically originally was years and years ago. And lovely track, very fast. It's one of those road courses that races almost like an oval. It's a momentum racetrack. On top of that, you got plenty of room to go 2, 3, 4 wide. You might get into trouble doing that down into turn 1, though.
We don't see any 4 wides, Jesse. But what do you mean by road course? Sorry, Jesse. Like, to me, as a European, road course means, you know, a street circuit rather than ones with more than just like a right turn with a left turn, which I presume is what you mean by road course. Yeah,
it's a good question because in America, obviously, we have a lot of ovals as well. There's rovals, and then there's road courses, and then of course street courses, which are as you would expect, just a racetrack laid out on city streets. So typically in North America, the way that we differentiate is a road course is a circuit, as you would say in Europe, and obviously an oval is an oval, and a roval is, well, what the 24 Daytonas ran on, for instance. That is technically a roval, not necessarily a road course, but it's just a North American terminology, and I grew up hearing Watkins Glen referred to exclusively as a road course rather than a circuit. But don't pay me any mind.
We just come around to the end of free practice now. For new joiners, or for people that watched the stream before, you know the drill, but for new joiners, qualifying is 21 minutes long, 10 minutes for the GT4s. So that'll be the silver and red numbered cars on your timing tower. And then the last 10 minutes are for the Porsche Cup cars, which are well, there's only 5 today, but the 5 white ground numbers you can see at the top of your screen. So, yeah, it should be an interesting fight tonight. Jesse, you said there was a bit of a tight battle in AM. I presume that's between Watts and Pimlott?
Yeah, there sure is. It is quite interesting. The AM battle, we will have standings for you at the conclusion of qualifying. But what's interesting to note about that in practice, Rudy Philmalter, the championship leader, was mired back in the mid-pack. This is a traditional trap-style race. We're more than halfway through the season as the qualifying session gets going for the AM GT4s. This is a trap race. It's classic. You get into a track like this where you have one incident, it could ruin your day completely, and your championship lead evaporates, and Philmalter doesn't have a big one to really play with. It's only 11 points, and that could go up in an instant. There's more than enough cars to facilitate that, of course. It's all going to be very close. I am curious, Rudy Philmalter, can he get at least on the front row of his class? I feel like that's imperative here in this quali session.
Yeah, I mean, the Jenetta's not the strongest car in around here, I don't think. I think it's think we'll probably see a strong showing for Mike Redford. The Alpine's very strong around these new Americans, which I've noticed. Yeah, so I'd say, as you say, Jesse, it's going to be a bit of a difficult one. I think it's one of these things where you're halfway through the season now, and you don't obviously want to try and you probably think you have one eye on the championship rather than, two eyes on the race. So yeah, it should be a bit of a how you say, like bit of a difficult one for Fullmeter and what's priority wise what they want to do, but we'll see what they do during the race.
Certainly will. And of course, qualifying not the biggest deal around here. It is a racetrack you can make a lot of passes. The only thing I would worry about is Ginettas. Racing against Ginettas, that's equal machinery. Now, the other thing to consider, and the reason I bring up that this particular road course or circuit races kind of like an oval, is because you can basically draft around here the majority of the way. Use a little bit more extra tire doing that, but in a 1 hour race, not the biggest deal that at all. Another thing to point out with that draft, Phil, you can use it in qualifying too if you're brave enough.
Yeah, if you're brave enough, I'd say he's probably not. You need to have a lot of faith though with some of these when you're drafting with some of these drivers. So not to say they're not to be trusted, but obviously you don't really want to be following someone that you don't know, particularly like if you're how well you are relative to their pace, where they brake, do they brake in the same place as you, do they go through the corners the same rate as you, and also it may not be a question of car or driver ability. It may be down to the car itself. We've talked a bit previously about how different some of these GT4s are as we watch Tom Watts just come around this nice sweeping right-hander. Ginetta, obviously, and Alpine, very strong through these corners, particularly the faster corners. I think Tom Watts there, just been told he's on an invalid lap now, which he is. But yeah, Ginetta, a lot lower to the ground than, say, that BMW Jordan Daly just behind him there. But yeah, obviously BMW a lot faster on the straights than the Ginetta by a good way. But obviously you do sacrifice that with some slower cornering speed and also a bit worse on the brakes. Not as bad as the Audi though. The Audi, we haven't seen Max Forster tonight. Actually, I think that's the one we're missing. I think. I'm not sure if he signed out or not. But we haven't. A bit of a overexcited rear end there for Jordan Daly, but he'll continue on. As we said before, you obviously get a couple. You need at least 2 laps to warm up these tires, so it's not a lap ruined, but it's not a lap gained either for Jordan Daly.
A little bit of a tank slapper there. That's not what he had in mind. Was absolutely digging off the corner. It is a cambered corner that is somewhat deceptive. I know in a GT3 car, you have to slow down and look at John Razor. The 699 McLaren has had an awful time coming off of the final turn onto the front straight here at Watkins Glen. He's tagged the wall and then ran off into the dirt after tagging the wall and got into the Armco and did that lap count. I think it did. However, it is quite slow. That's why he kept his foot in it. He wanted to put a time on the board, and he has done. It's not a competitive time. I won't lie to you about that, but still wanted to get that lap in. Has reset, has not left the pit lane yet. Vanderwood in the 38 Maserati of all things, quickest here thus far. 57.175, 0.8 quicker than Rudy Philmalter, but right now it is job done for the South African driver. He'll get a front row start in his class, which is exactly what he needs to continue pursuing the championship fight. But look at this. Christoph Verstappen here in the number 7, the Verstappen Motorsport Chevrolet has gone all the way to the top of the board, a 56.2. No surprise there from the silver class cars, but what a lap that was. That's going to take some doing to beat.
Yeah, I'd say so as well, Jesse. Obviously, we talked a bit about before, the BMW being on stilts. That Chevrolet is a bit like playing American Truck Sim, to be honest, going over some of those curbs. Very high up off the ground as well. But yeah, it's a very impressive lap from Verstappen. We should see the likes of Daly and Razor try and get back on terms. As we've said before, Razor's lap, not really representative of his final pace. I'm sure you'd agree. Daly, of course, yet to set a lap after his little Tell Happiness. I think that's just him there, just behind Phil Mortar, which he is. He's not that far off his best lap. Phil Mortar is currently 7 tenths up on his lap time at the minute, so this should take him either second or third, depending on where he ends up, and that is a 157.2, which takes him to third place. And Jordan Daly just behind there, just sneaking in with a 156.5. That's still 3 tenths off, and I think Verstappen is still going faster still, Jesse Lee.
Sure is. Andrew Harvey in the KTM, the Gulf liveried KTM, trying to get a lap in here that is representative of what the small KTM is capable of. I don't think the last lap was very much. We should get a nice idea of what this car can do around here, and it is a very nice improvement. Puts them at a 59.450, and that's a little bit better stamp now. It's in the 604 Maserati, the slowest of the cars that have taken time thus far, but they're all stacking up there. A little group in the middle, a little group in the back, and Verstappen has gone quicker again off 56.020, as if they needed to get any quicker. Half a second back to Jordan Daly now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's no harm in going faster, is there really? I mean, Daly could easily have set a much faster lap, so there's no harm in going a lot faster still. As we watch Mike Redford in his Alpine, he's nearly 8 tenths up on his previous best time at the minute, so this should put him in a fairly useful position if he can just keep this through. He's only got 2 turns to go. He's got this little long left-hander to go. You just come out on this curve just a bit. You don't want to be going there too often. And then finally, this little late apex right-hander. I think he's got a bit of oversteer on the exit. He's lost a bit of time for there. I think that should be enough for like P3 in class, maybe a bit better, but we'll see. Oh, Matt's mistaken.
Wow,
that's polling class, so that shows me up right there. Well done, Mike Redford.
56.937 for Mike Redford in that particular car. That Alpine, absolutely not what I expected to see. This is a horsepower racetrack. The Alpine isn't that, but maybe just has the extra quickness in some of these fast corners. Is able to take everybody to task here, and that's about 2 tenths quicker than Vanderwood has set so far. That car in second place in the GT4 AM class has just exited the pit lane for what will likely be the last gasp here in quali. Daly down to third. That means John Arazer has gone quicker, and boy, have they. The 699 McLaren to second place. 3 tenths, a little off of pole position. Still that 56.02. I thought his previous lap was going to take some doing to beat. I just don't see anybody catching the Chevrolet here.
No, indeed. I mean, I was about to say, I'm not really sure why Vanderwood's gone out the pits, to be honest. They've still got like 2 minutes to go. I think it takes about 2 minutes to get around this track in one of these cars, so should be okay. John Arazer there just going a bit, getting to know those curves a bit too closely there. He's about 3 tenths up on his lap time though, so he may be on for a good lap at the minute if he can just keep this together. Look at all that steering he's having to do just to get around this corner. And he's gone a bit wide there. John Arazer is still 3.5 tenths up on his lap time at the minute. He's still got about a sector to go. I think he's just entered the final sector now. He's about half a second up at the minute. I need to check where on my other monitor, because Christoph Verstappen is also up on his time, only just though. It's a bit break even, so this could be a last gasp to the finish. Because I think we've only got like say 7 seconds of the GT4 session left to go. So John Arazer is going to have to finish this lap in front of him. Van der Woerde is going to have to finish their lap as well. There is no, as we come round to the final bit of qualifying for GT4. Anybody on the lap now has to finish. And coming through the last corner now, John Arazer is.
Oh, it's going to be big. It's going to be real big.
I think that's pole. Or provisional pole, should we say? And I think Verstappen, Jesse Lee just checked on my open monitor. Verstappen is down on his time, but only just his break even. Oh, and I think that's it. Jesse Lee.
Well, I'll eat my words when I have to, and I certainly do here. Waving the white flag as Christoph Verstappen bringing the Chevrolet into the pit lane was down on their time. It was not enough, but you know what was enough? John Razor's time, a 55.935, and it had to be a 55, just about to take pole position, and he has done by just over 85 one-hundredths of a second over Verstappen. It's McLaren Chevrolet. Can Rudy Philmalter do anything to get to the head of his class? He's going to need, about 6/10 of a second, maybe a little bit less than that, 5 maybe, to get back up there, as Mike Redford has taken them to task with some fantastic laps here in the middle segments. It's all on Rudy Philmalter now.
Indeed, I've only just noticed, Jesse, we haven't had Pimlock go out just yet, so maybe there's some technical issues with the 140 there. I think Philmarters though he's only half a second, 6 attempts down on his time. Daly though, I think Daly's still improving though, so he may sneak ahead of Verstappen. I think he's still got to try and gain like half a second in the last 2 corners, so maybe not for these 2 cars, as Philmarter goes straight into pit lane. And Jordan Daly now, he's a 10th up on his time. I think he's going to improve, but not change position, I'd say. Yeah, there you go. He's just under half a second up. So
that'll make you feel just a little bit better, honestly. If you're within half a second, you feel like you can keep up and catch them. Anything beyond that, you start to wonder, where am I losing that much time to them? And I agree. I think pretty much everybody in the top 3 there had a little something extra to give. This is a racetrack that is unapologetic in how you have to drive it, and you can make a tiny mistake, but because of the nature of the speed of the track, you lose a ton of time making a single mistake. And it's all about getting everything you can out of the lap, and also not invalidating. We saw that come up as well. Andy Boardman will be the first to take a lap in the Porsche Cup cars. The Grease Weasel Racing 98. What? I don't even know what numbers are. It definitely is the 69. I said every number in the drawer except the one.
Just keep trying to avoid that number, Jesse, for some reason.
I don't. It's a perfectly. I would call that a nice number personally.
Yeah, I'd call it divisible by 3. Pretty good. Every number divisible by 3 is pretty good in my book, Jesse.
I'm going to be honest. I'm a divisible by 2 guy.
Okay, even numbers only for Jesse Lee. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on. Andy Boardman here. I think these cars, Jesse, are just about the same as GT4s in terms of like their tires. They don't have tire warmers, so I think this first lap set by Andy Boardman's not going to be the fastest we'll see out of these Cup cars today, but it's always good to set a bank lap even if your tires aren't quite up to pressure. He's just coming around now. He's just coming out this little hairpin here. This should be into the first sector of the lap. Should be about 8 to 9 seconds faster than the fastest GT4 in these cars. So somewhere in the mid 140s, I'm going to say, is where we're going to end up on pole today, Jesse Lee.
Well, we've had a couple of developments from our live chat. We are reading chat as we always do here on RCI TV. Welcome in everybody watching at home on your Thursday evening. Hope you're well wherever you are. Jordan Daly says that didn't quite get back down to the lap time that they were able to run in practice. Michael Redford has had a omission here that I find very interesting, as we'll catch up with Andy Boardman's lap time. You thought it was going to be a mid-40 something. It is a 47.712, and that will set the early benchmark for the Porsche Cup class. But Michael Redford said a moment ago in our chat that he does not like Watkins Glen. He might be alone on that island.
I think we should just leave him on the island on his own. I don't see what the lack of I don't see the lack of appeal of this track. I see just appeal at the minute, Jesse Lee, around Watkins.
That's interesting though, that he's sat on pole position for a track he doesn't want to race on. Redford, you might be one of the few people that have ever done that in the history of anything.
I like the idea
you and Nicky Lauda, maybe.
I like the idea that the pole man's pouting, Jesse Lee, as he's lining up.
You know what? I respect it. It takes a strong-willed person to be good at something, but also admit that they don't particularly like it. Raphael Huell, P2, 7/10 off of the overall pace set by Andy Boardman. With the 48 Porsche. They're nearly a second off. And then you got Vic Olson with 2 seconds off the pace right now. McDonald has not set a lap as of yet, but the Grease Weasel Racing Machine still out there searching for more.
Yeah, searching for more indeed, Jesse. Where is he at the minute? He's about a tenth or so up on his lap time at the minute. He's just coming to the last 2 corners now. So he should I think maybe he'll probably come down to like 47.5 come the end of this lap, I'd say. It's a very good penultimate corner there. Coming to the final corner, late apex if you want, take a bit of that curve. You probably want to go a bit closer to comfort to that barrier than you possibly want to be in a 147.2 set by Andy Boardman, followed closely by. Get there.
Oh, we've just got further context from Mr. Redford. Isn't the track, it's the car here. The Alpine is scary to drive around here. And yeah, we noticed that actually.
Yeah, it's
a very good point.
I'm not really sure it's the scariest thing. I mean GT4s tend to be quite predictable in how they drive anyway. So maybe it's scary in GT4.
Whoa!
Well, that's a bit of a dirt rally moment for Yan Yo there, Jesse Lee, out of turn 1.
Well, the Flying Hellfish Taters combo was absolutely doing all of those things right there, coming through turn 1.
Yeah, I think it's probably something to do with that. I think first corner's like a second or third gear corner. Maybe you could catch it in second gear. You get a lot of torque in these cars. I think we said before, these cars, great. You don't even notice there's no TC when you use third gear or above, but second, certainly first. Like, there's just so much torque in these cars, and you just need to feather that throttle so much more. So I think Yan Yo there just had a bit of a I want to say brown trousers moment, but not that much. Maybe just a bit of burnout. You know how they do in the Formula One now, Jesse? They do burnout to warm up the rear tires. Maybe that's what he's up to.
I do indeed. Everybody has set a quick lap at this point. George McDonald, the Joker Racing Porsche Cup car, second quickest, the nearest to Boardman thus far, 3/10 thereabout off of the ultimate pace set by Andy Boardman at 47.4. We saw a little bit ago the mark to beat for anybody here today, and it's just gone down again. It's a 47.365 for Boardman. That'll push McDonald 4/10 on the wrong side, but still a front row spot hangs in the balance. Has about a 10th in it between him and Raphael Huell right now.
We're getting very close at the front there. Like you say, it's still at half a second-ish to Andy Boardman at the front, but George McDonald to Yan Yo, so second to fourth. There's only about 2 tenths at the minute. As George McDonald now comes around the final corner. Is he going to set a faster lap? Nope, not quite. He's still yet to improve, Jesse Lee, but yeah, there's still 2 minutes left. So these cars now probably have about, from Vic Osland backwards, I'd say they've got another 2 laps in them. Vic Osland has enough time to get around and do another lap, but that'll probably be it for Andreas, I'd say. As he comes around and does a last lap, was a best lap of the day, 149.3. Still a bit of the way off, but I noticed he hasn't. Usually he's racing with like the likes of Daniel Montero, and I think Breckmer, who's not here today, probably signed out. As we move on to Raphael Huell, I must admit, Jesse, it's a bit of a musical number, his livery.
What, the car is a bit of a musical number? I don't know what you mean by that. What does that mean?
What does that mean? It's like music. There's like musical notes and stuff like that over the bonnet. I'm not sure if you can quite see. I mean, we had a.
I see. Do you think if we tried to play it, do you think it would make a song? Do you think, or is it just random?
I think Huell's argument would probably be that the car itself makes music, but as he comes around and sets music himself there, Jesse Lee, 147.6. Still two tenths off Andy Boardman, but still improving. He's got 40 seconds to go, so he's still got one more lap. If he's still got one more lap in him, we'll see Andy Boardman level pegging with his fastest time at the minute, so it should be an interesting end to this qualifying session.
Huell less than a quarter second behind Boardman. Boardman trying to rally the car through the bus stop chicane down the back straight. Oh, and he's in a full slide coming around the carousel. That is not going to help the tires. That's not going to help the time. But man, was it pretty to watch.
Very pretty. It's a bit like from the 1970s Formula One cars, Jesse, the way some of these people are driving these cars.
Sure was, buddy.
Yeah, there's Huel. I think Huel's. Is Huel? He's not abandoned. It's not. He's a little bit off on his time at the minute. I think we've just still got the 21 of Huel and the 66 of McDonald at the minute. McDonald's about. I think McDonald's probably not going to improve on his time. He's about 3 temps down. So we're probably just going to be watching Huel to end the qualifying session. He's I think he's just just invalidated his lap. So that's it. That's your Andy Boardman takes another pole position for today's race.
Sure does, and what a spirited qualifying that was. A lot of cars absolutely on the brink of losing it, trying to maximize this race course. That's what it took to get pulled today. Belongs to Andy Boardman. 47.365. The pole time for Boardman in the Cup Series cars. McDonald will share the front row, Julio and the like behind them. Qualifying done. Let's take a look at the championship points at the midway point in the season. Starting off with Silver GT4, Christoph Verstappen leading the championship, 87 points. Skrillex on 64. Jordan Daly in third place with 56. John Razor on 50. And rounding out the top 5, Will Stevenson on 23. Will Stevenson and Skrillex, I don't believe, are here today. Everyone else with a dash has retired from the championship. Moving on to GT4 AM, this is the business end of the championship, in my opinion. Rudy Philmalter holds an 11-point lead over Neil Pimlott, 85-74 respectively. That's why the battle between those two could be quite interesting today. Tom Watts in third place, 64 points. Fourth is Mike Redford, the man on pole today. He came in with 57 points. He has several more than that now by virtue of getting pole. Mitch Kester with 55. You got Max Forster with 54, 1 point behind. Malcolm on 49. Les Stevenson on 30. Harvey on 18. And rounding out the top 10, Sarah Stant with 16. Outside the top 10, you've got Vanderwood, who hasn't had a fantastic championship up to this point, but has showed promise here today. They still have 3 points. You'll notice there hasn't been a single driver bail out of the GT4AM class.
To round up the Cup class, Andy Boardman leads away on 90 points, followed by the 66 George McDonald on 68 points. Janjo, third place, 60 points, and an equal fourth for the minute. Andreas Vic Osland and Rafael Huel, both on 49 points. Daniel Montero is sixth with 36 points. Luke Brockmer is seventh with 16 points, and Victor Marcos in the 71 yet to score a point. Stevenson and Nemsak there in 9th and 10th have signed out for this season. And then finally, Joe Dorber and Bruno Texeria both signed out the championship.
Well, Phil, it's an old adage in racing, but I think it's a very apt term for today. You can't win the championship today, but you can certainly lose it. What are your keys to staying in the race today?
Staying in the race today is multi-class, so obviously it's a good for Porsches. It's going to be about good traffic management today. And for the GT4s, it's going to be about just staying out of trouble, keeping your eye on your rearview mirror, and not trying to overcomplicate the requirements of today's race. Sometimes people think about too much about, well, if I finish fifth, then I'm on this many points. If I finish fourth, on that many points. It's not about counting, as the phrase goes, counting your chickens before they've hatched, but counting your eggs before they've hatched. I'm not sure what the thing is, but along those lines. But yeah, the key is just to keep out of trouble, do as best you can, and yeah, don't overcomplicate your race, to be honest.
Watkins Glen's a spectacular place to watch a race. I've done it several times myself, but it's also a fantastic place to race. You got loads of space, and even a lot of times when you go off, especially through sectors 1 and 2. You usually either get away with it or escape with minimal damage. Sector 3 is a completely different story. Getting caught up in an accident there is almost always a terminal issue. Coming through the bus stop, always a thrilling affair. It's a racetrack. You can get 2, 3, maybe 4 wide. Phil Roberts, might we see 2, 3 wide down into turn 1 here?
3 wide for the stewards' sake, but for our sake, probably it'll be big exciting seeing 3 wides. We'll probably see a lot of 2 wides. As you say, Jesse, there's a lot of long sweeping corners, nice consistent radiuses, so very easy to hold the 2 wides through the corners. But yeah, I don't know where Christian's taking us at the minute, Jesse Lee. It looks like we're in the middle of the infield caravan site.
He's showing us the infield campgrounds, and quite interestingly here, this is the very spot we're passing over right now. There was a red flag in a NASCAR race here over a decade ago, and one fan hopped that fence and the blue wall and went to get an autograph from then NASCAR champion Matt Kenseth, who was sitting in his car on a red flag. Matt Kenseth said, "I'm a little busy, man."
What? 2002 or something?
It was no. This was way later than that. He was champion in like 2002 or something. But yeah, this happened probably about 2012, 11, somewhere in there.
Oh no!
But very, very funny. Matt Kenseth told him, "I'm a little busy right now, man," and he may have been arrested for doing that. Nobody jumping the fences today, and despite what my fellow casters here at RCI say, that's not me. That's not what I look like. Have no idea why they've settled on that. But as Christian tries to find the cars and we waffle a little bit, I will say, Christian, never silent as a broadcaster. You can't hear him, but we can absolutely hear him. He loved qualifying. A lot of cars going sideways. So many different kinds of cars, Phil Roberts, as well. You've got McLarens, BMWs, Alpines. You saw Redford earlier talk about how that car was very much unsettled. And, of course, the Porsches, every single one of them were sideways. It could be a day where you're battling your own car.
It definitely will be, I'd say. I mean, track's only fast at the minute as well. Track temperature about 17 degrees, so we're probably not going to see, and with 15 cars, we're probably not going to see the track evolve that fast either. So it's going to be about how well you can keep your wits about you as the track develops under your feet. Certainly it's going to be about patience, as we said before. And going back to your point, Jesse, I think, to be honest, some of these Porsche drivers are going to earn their paycheck today with some of this driving. So that's going to be demanded of them.
Just over halfway in the season. This is race 4 out of 6. Can't win it today, but you can absolutely lose it. Andy Boardman and McDonald, the front row in the Cup cars, Eraser and Verstappen, Redford and Phil Malter. Those are your class leaders right now. We are green. The lights are on. The flag's waving, and we're going down into turn 1. It's a clean getaway from Boardman. McDonald and Hull side by side for second place. They sorted out behind them between Yo and Vic Osland as they get single file before they get to the S's. It's a big draft zone. No calamity as far as I could possibly see. The 604 of Stant, I believe, dropped to the back on their own accord. I could be wrong about that. One car seemingly bounces off the wall. That was Yan as far as I could tell. The 21, though, Raphael Huell trying to move up and stay in position as they're under attack now. I think that was Yo. One car off in the background. Is that Vic Osland? I think it is. It is Andreas Vic Osland.
Oh yeah, I think he. I'm not sure what happened there. Hopefully we get a replay of that. But yeah, I think he just caught a bit of the curb, maybe through the little bus stop section there. Unsettled the car. These cars are very easy to unsettle, obviously. I was going to mention, Jesse, 21 of Raphael Huell started the race with his lights off, and as he was coming through the S's up the hill onto the straight, he had that meatball flag come up on his screen, on his dash. So I think that may have just distracted him a bit with Yan Yo, obviously, in his mirror view mirrors, as we now turn to Jordan Daly here with that's Verstappen just ahead of him there, and Eraser still ahead. So it looks like the top, certainly the top 4 in GT4 have just stayed nice and stable. There's well, and I think you saw last week, Jesse Lee, Skrillex and Verstappen put on a hell of a show for us. in racecraft, and maybe Verstappen's now in the Skrillex role as he puts pressure on John Araser.
Yeah, it sure was. I absolutely never miss a Thursday race. I love watching them, and what a show it was indeed, folks. Round 3 of this championship. You can watch the VOD anytime here on RCI TV. It was just it was a fantastic race between two drivers. A lot of respect there, and you just off of every corner felt like there could possibly be a move. High tension for a lot of the ending stages of that race. In fact, crossed the line nose to tail. Good stuff. Jordan Daly, speaking of nose to tail, right behind Verstappen right now. Eraser yarding them out ever so slightly. The Chevrolet struggling to get up the hill. The BMW, no such trouble. Daly down to the inside. Will he force it down to the bus stop? You can go too wide through there. Thinks better of it. Too early in the race for Jordan Daly to try that. The Triple R machine, we'll try it again some other time. Maybe here into the carousel. Peeking down to the inside. Doesn't get pinched off. Maybe a little. He stays hard onto the apron here in the carousel. He's going to still be side by side. This will become the outside as we go into the boot here at Watkins Glen. Oh, and it's so close. There is a car off right in front of them. They're up against the wall. That's one of the Porsche Cup cars. Unsure which one it was. It was the white one. I think that might have been Yan Yo's car. But besides that, they all get away.
Yeah, just a quick correction. That was Andreas B. Gosselin's Porsche that was just stricken on the side of the road. Took it onto the side of the road, off the racing line. So none of this. I think Verstappen's let Daly through there. I think he's probably thought better of it. He's obviously got a championship to look after. He doesn't really need to have Daly racing him that hard. And now Daly goes after John Eraser there. Mike Redford's still in his quote unstable Alpine. I'm going to say that looks fairly planted at the minute, Jesse Lee, with Van der Woerder just behind. Just one quick word while we're on the subject of Van der Woerder. Or Van der Wood, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Sorry, I think I've been told several times how to do it, but I still keep forgetting, so I do apologise. Van der Wood, yes. We've had obviously 3 points, but a lot of those times they've had issues with technical reasons. They've been in fairly strong positions in the race, so I just want to point that out there. That 3 points, they have 3 points, but most of it's down to luck out of their control, should we say.
That is very unfortunate, but Vic Osland in the 36, you called it correctly, partner. They had contact with the wall coming into the boot here, and they have taken their car into the pit lane. They've not retired that car. Probably going to take a moment, do some work on it, and of course, also in the throes of that, sort out their mandatory pit stop for the day. And meanwhile, Neil Pimlott, who is trying to come up through the field, is having a fantastic fight here, and just about everybody makes it through. Close racing there between Watts and Pimlott.
Yeah, I was watching on the other monitor. Jordan Daly had a bit of a bad exit through after the bus stop into the carousel. Jesse Lee, was Verstappen there, just have a bit of a wild moment with the back end of his car there. As we said before, these two cars, a bit like driving a brick, to be honest. If you move on to the battle for what looks like third place between Yo and Hugh, two fairly evenly matched drivers, I must admit. They're usually not that far apart from each other on the track. Yan Yo, very familiar with these sorts of cars, usually drives Porsches or Ginettas, so he's usually quite up on his cars that try and kill him. But yeah, he's only got Huel just ahead of him there. They're not too far away from Boardman and McDonald. Certainly McDonald's keeping Boardman very honest in P2. But yeah, we're up to lap 4 now, and there's only 2 seconds separating the top 4 in Porsche class, Jesse Lee.
Yeah, there sure is, and this is the big issue that I was just thinking of. I swear, I don't do a race with Christian Stricker as my broadcaster for nearly 3.5 months, but it doesn't matter. Same wavelength, same energy. This is exactly what I was thinking. Andy Boardman might be leading this race, but George McDonald has the magenta speed juice fastest lap of the race award, and he is not letting Andy Boardman get away. And more to the point, neither is Raphael Huel and Yan Yo. I thought that they, third and fourth place respectively, had fallen off the back. They haven't. All top 4 of our Porsche Cup drivers are all coming back together here after the first 5 minutes of the race. They spread apart a little bit, but look at this, just absolutely under a blanket here.
Yeah, I think some of it's going to be like the little draft train. We think you talked about it before, Jesse Lee, during qualifying, that it's fairly easy to follow cars and draft cars around Watkins Glen. It looks like these four are demonstrating that point, unless I've misinterpreted what you said. But anyway, we move on. So George McDonald there, he's only half a second behind Andy Boardman at the minute. He's not letting that guy go at all. I think George had a... I'm not sure if it was George. I think it was George. I know it's Hewell and the now signed out Joe Dorber, who had a bit of a coming together on lap one last round, but both had a very strong recovery drive. I think George just about finished in P2 because Yan Yo had an interesting strategy of swapping tyres around Zandvoort, which nearly worked out for him. But anyway, we're back here at Watkins as George McDonald's still keeping Andy Boardman honest with his pace, and Hewell. I just noticed Hewell's taking the speed juice fastest lap of the fastest lap of the race there, basically.
Yeah, I can tell you a lot of times in oval racing, and I do apologize to keep equating this to oval racing, but there are a lot of parallels when you come here. Usually the fastest car in a train on an oval is the third car. It's no surprise to me to see Raphael Hewell sitting third in the train, able to somehow pull that out. And I'm not saying he doesn't have pace of his own, because he absolutely does. He's Raphael Hewell, for God's sakes. But I think him also being third in the train down these long straights is absolutely paying dividends. And it's also helping Yo, by the way, as well in fourth place. They're saving probably a little bit of fuel, a little bit of tire, just hanging on. There's nothing Yan can do at this stage. You're really not going to go up there and pass all three of these cars without hurting yourself. It's all about waiting for the pit strategy, waiting for an opportunity to make a move. Exactly what Verstappen did to Daly a few laps ago. Meanwhile, running off the racetrack, very hazardous 2-1's race, you would have to say. But all four Porsche Cup cars up front, all together, and this battle still going on. John Eraser, by the way, for the GT4 Silver class, hasn't really gotten away, despite the fact that Verstappen and Daly have flip-flopped the second place position in that class. In fact, Verstappen and Daly are catching John Eraser for the lead in the silver class. And oh, by the way, Redford has not gotten away from Vanderwood either. They're all within 1 second of each other, all the class leaders and all the runners-up. Oh my goodness! That Chevrolet just about tagged the wall right there.
Probably minimal damage for Verstappen there, I'd say. But yeah, as you go, I think we're gonna be equating the ovals tactics too much here, Jesse Lee. But I was about to say, I think the key for Daly and Verstappen to catch back up with Eraser now is just to work as a team. Don't hold each other up. I don't think Verstappen's going to be holding Daly up, but just draft on each other, and you should be able to get back up with Eraser eventually. As we move back to Hewell. Not really. I think they've dropped a bit. Speaking of working as a team, they've all, as a trio, have dropped Yan Yo a bit. As there's a bit of a yellow flag at the minute. I think someone's died. I think that Vanderwood.
That's the 38
out of turn one. We'll go back and have a look at that in a bit if we can. But
that was second place in the GT4 AM class. Has dropped it off the road. Looked like that happened on the exit of turn number one. As they get it going up through the S's, something has happened to the Kvetch Motorsports car, and they have dropped all the way to the back of the train. Meanwhile, Jordan Daly turning that BMW. BMW do make rally cars, but this one ain't it.
They do? I didn't know that, Jesse Lee.
I'm pretty sure you can get a BMW rally car.
They probably did in the 80s, like when there was like those Group B rear-wheel drive things, but I've never heard of a BMW rally.
I'm gonna say something completely heinous here, probably.
Go on then, Jesse.
There is one in I think it's in the Dirt Series, right?
Here we come. I think is that that's a battle for P1, Jesse Lee, between McDonald and Boardman. McDonald's going for a move. Oh, that's nearly ended in tears there. I think Boardman probably had to put faith that McDonald was going to back out there, but there was a little bit of overlap there from McDonald. You have to be a very brave boy to try and overtake someone through the bus stop there. But yeah, I don't really know what's happened to Portman. He didn't look like he was getting away, certainly, but he didn't look uncomfortable with his lead. But yeah, it must have happened through turn one or something. Jesse Lee from McDonald to be right on top of Boardman through the bus stop.
Yeah, they gained about 0.6 of a second in one sector, did McDonald and company, to catch back up to Boardman, and now the gap has settled back out to where it was before. Verstappen in second place in the GT4 Silver class continues to lead over Daly. Daly's not fussed about this really because Verstappen and Daly have worked together like you suggested, Phil, and they have caught John Araser for the lead of the silver class. Jordan Daly all over the curbs trying to follow the Chevrolet, and the ground clearance just not quite as good on that BMW as it is that Chevrolet.
No, indeed. I was about to say Jordan Daly's eating some of these curbs like biscuits at the minute, Jesse Lee. But
American or British?
British biscuits. British biscuits are
I can put a whole package of those away.
That look like a big crunchy curb munch there, Jesse Lee. But not really good for your pace. As you come out up there, you have to really recontrol the car, obviously. But yeah, coming up to what looks like, we're just coming into sector 3 now, so we're just coming onto the back straight, I'd say. I'm not really sure where we are. Like on the end of the boot or something like that, aren't we, Jesse? At this
yes,
point
indeed.
Yeah, so Eraser just about holding on to his lead, but Verstappen's once again just tightening that vice on putting that pressure on John Eraser. But he obviously has to be careful what he does because Jordan Daly's not that far behind, and he'll probably be waiting to pick up the scraps of whatever happens between Verstappen and Eraser should something happen.
Certainly will be. Everybody has to mind themselves. I talked about in the opening about how this track is considerably wide and you can draft and you can work your way around traffic and around your opponents here, unlike many other tracks in ACC or on the SRO calendar, but it also has its own unique challenges. It is a fast sweeping circuit racetrack that in some parts races like a street course. It goes from very wide to incredibly tight, constricting confines. You find yourself going just a little bit wide, pushing it a little bit too much, and then all of a sudden you're into a barrier. You can ill afford that. You got to mind yourself racing this close together, absolutely on top of one another.
Yeah, Jordan Daly there. I think Jordan Daly's just using that BMW power just to get up to Verstappen, but I think Verstappen's car and Verstappen himself probably a lot stronger than Daly through some of these tight, twistier corners here. There's just really close to that Chevrolet, but yeah, I think Verstappen goes a little bit wide for that, but not touching the grass. He was on the grass a few times when we've switched back to Verstappen a few times. But yeah, Eraser's probably hoping these two get in a fight and you'll try and get away again, but I don't think that's going to quite happen for him this time. I think Daly and Verstappen have probably learned together that they're not going to get this win if they fight between each other, Jesse.
It is very much the case. It's very true. And, you know, if you are a Raphael Huell, if you are a Jordan Daly, you're the caboose on your train right now, as it were, and there's not a whole lot you can do to benefit yourself by passing the car in front. And I know that sounds counterintuitive to the plot, but it really is true. You just kind of got to wait for something to happen in front of you and hope and trust the process that a Verstappen is going to get by, or at least attempt to get by an Eraser, that a McDonald is going to try and get by a Boardman. You kind of get the picture. By the way, I thought I might be taking crazy pills, so I looked it up. There is a BMW M2 competition rally car.
Of course you looked it up.
I thought I was taking crazy pills. I looked it up. It actually exists. You can buy one.
Yeah, I was on that. I'll bring on that note in a minute, Jesse. I was about to just mention as well that our leaders, McDonald and Boardman, are probably going to be meeting traffic this lap. So when we talk about looking ahead and seeing what's there, you know, there's going to be some wild cards in play for the leaders coming up this lap in the form of a wild GT4 or two. As we swap back to Verstappen, well, that's the Eraser Verstappen Daly. And I just noticed, Jesse Lee, Jan Yo's pitting from 4th place in the 48.
I kind of like that strategy. I don't think you're losing time in the draft. You know, by them drafting
I think
and
he's
not.
lost the draft, hasn't he?
Yeah, I don't think that's a big issue here. I think that's a very smart move. You might see a Jordan Daly or a Rudy Philmalt or somebody try that as well. But if I was them, I would wait. Oh, the Maserati's going to go off here. The leader's going to go through. Boardman, a very scary moment. His first time coming through lap traffic, and it was a huge, scary moment. The 604, I believe, ran off the road there a little bit. Luckily, Stant had a really good handle on the race car. And folks, that Maserati is wayward in the best of times. Imagine what that must have felt like driving over the curbs.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, should point out. Obviously, if you're in a slower class, you don't need to panic. I know it's you want to get out the way, but there's no need to panic when there's a faster car behind you. It's their responsibility to get past you safely. And if they catch you in the corner, then they catch you in the corner. That's just how multi-class racing works. You will lose time behind them. Sometimes you'll lose more than other people. Sometimes you'll lose less, but that's just how it works. As I think Jesse Lee, not sure, but maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me, but I think Jordan Daly's just about dropping from this pair of Verstappen and Eraser. At least I think he is. I think he's oh, there he is. He's just there on the screen.
He's definitely lost just a little bit. That is the Porsche Cup car, the 5th place car. Vic Osland, who had the touch with the wall in the boot, you'll recall, and immediately came down pit road. And they're trying to get through the slower GT4 class, and has done quite a good job up to this point doing exactly that, but now finds themselves in the fastest bit of the GT4 traffic. Got to be very patient here, and has done a really great job navigating through at least Daly to this point, but finds himself a little bit of a roadblock in front here.
I was saying, I'm not sure if Jan Yo's got some major damage or some sort of technical issues at the minute, but he's still in pit lane. Vic Osland's overtaken him and is effectively P4 on the road at the minute. But yeah, I think Yo's having a bit of problems in pit lane. Yeah, and obviously Vic Osland here trying not to his credit, trying not to interfere with this battle for P1 in class. So
yeah, that was very well done.
Very gentlemanly of Vic Osland there to not interfere. So yeah, well done. But yeah, so we still have a bit of a race here between Verstappen and Eraser. Eraser's doing a mighty good job of holding that Chevrolet back. It must not be a nice experience at all in that McLaren. The minute you just see a big Chevrolet Camaro grill in your rearview mirror for about for nearly the whole race. I'm just Christine being merry in the ear at the minute, but yeah. So Eraser doing a stellar job at the minute, Jesse Lee. I think he's been having to. And I say that commentators curse there. Just he goes wide a bit through turn 1. And I think Verstappen's gone the same way as well. But yeah, that's all that's done is just brought Daly back into contention now. And Daly's had the exit, Jesse Lee. I think he's probably going to think better of it than trying to overtake for the bus stop.
Yeah, I think so. This is the thing about being third. Unless you're absolutely sure you can make the pass quickly, concisely, and cleanly, you can't really go for it. And a couple of little bobbles there that may have not looked like much on the camera, but there was a couple of corrections Daly had to make. Otherwise, he would have looped that car. George McDonald thinking about making a move here. There's a Ginetta up in front. Going to use him as a pick. The Ginetta very nearly runs off of the racetrack to get out of the way of the 2 lead cars as they come screaming through. That's well done by everybody, including Andy Boardman, who used the Ginetta as a pick to keep him in the lead of this race. George McDonald will be fuming from that particular move. If that was me, I'd be flashing the lights. I'd be saying your name in vain, but I'd respect it. A car very slow there, that Alpine.
Redford. Yeah, I don't know what's happened to Redford. We just had a yellow flag for Redford. He's
Redford,
again.
The leader of the AM class, has had a big incident here. A couple of other cars coming through, maybe additional contact. Mike Redford has had a huge issue, lost the lead. Neil Pimlott, now the leader in the AM class.
Yeah, I think that maybe we'll put it down to Alpine being unstable. I'd say Jesse Lee, but yeah, I've noticed he's got a little bit of damage on the front of his car, so I think he just had a bit of a visit to an Armco barrier or something like that. As we move back to Eraser and Verstappen here, this is not fun for Eraser at all, Jesse Lee.
You keep saying that, but here's the thing. John Razor is a veteran race car driver, and I'm pretty sure he does not care who's in his mirror. He'll be very familiar with Christoph Verstappen. They've raced together for the better part of 2.5 years, as far back as I can recall. And if I'm a Razor, I'm annoyed that I'm not quicker than Verstappen, but also I've got to know if I am a Razor, I'm keeping him back there only just admittedly. This is a good race, but if I'm Verstappen, I'm licking my chops right now.
Yeah, I'd also say probably for Verstappen, he knows he's faster than a Razor. I think he's quite cozy at the minute, Jesse Lee. I'd say if Verstappen's plan, I'd suggest is probably wait until pit stop, do the opposite of a Razor if I can, presumably. I'd assume we're doing like 1 liter pit stop rules, so I'm pretty sure all these cars are fueled up for the whole race. So I would say that Verstappen and a Razor are fully stocked for the whole race. But if I was Verstappen, you're faster than the Razor. The only worry I'd have at the minute is Jordan Daly, but either way, you have 37 minutes left of the race to go. And there's still a pit. You still have to serve a pit stop, both of you. So, I would say that for Verstappen, the strategy may be just to wait until a Razor pits, do the opposite, or undercut yourself. But you can't quite guarantee traffic, at least at the minute. If you can overcut him, so in other words, pitting after a Razor does, you've got a nice clean track ahead of you at the minute. So if you pit early now, you're not really going to guarantee.
Oh, this is going to get spicy.
I think we've got like a freeway here, Jesse Lee, for Tier 1. Verstappen's got the inside line. Are they going to turn in? Oh, that's some brilliant piece of racecraft there from both.
This isn't over yet. The S's is going to favor a Razor here if they get that far, and I think they will. He's just got to stay there, but no, the Chevrolet's going to get through. Here comes Jordan Daly looking around the outside, knows the arm goes there, has to pull back in line, but the pass has been made. Christoph Verstappen to the lead in the GT4 Silver class. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Got a great run off the final corner and down the front straight and took the lead. It took 3 or 4 corners, but he finally got it up there. The big bad gold Chevrolet's there, but there's been an issue right here with George McDonald. The second place car overall has had a big off. That'll promote Raphael Huell up into the 3rd place position. Andy Boardman now trying to get through this melee, the lead in the GT4 Silver class. Boardman trying not to be involved here, and the Chevrolet runs off the racetrack, and now Andy Boardman can have a sigh of relief for a moment, and perhaps for Verstappen as well, as that was nearly a nasty moment.
Yeah, I think Verstappen's done that a few times now, where he just probably borrowed a bit too much of the track limits there. But I was about to say, Jesse, as they were coming through the bus stop, these 3 have got the 2 lead cars in Porsche class right behind them, as Verstappen probably goes a bit too wide. John Razor's really keen at the minute to try and get past him. As they just come into the last few corners there, that's Raphael Huell's Porsche that's just at the back of this queue right now, as we see Jordan Daly's BMW. Gets a nice clean pass on Daly through there. I think he'll probably want to wait for the main straight before he gets past the Razor and Verstappen. I think Verstappen
was on the grass!
Yeah, I think he's just about hit the wall there. Oh no, we've about a bit of a camera technical difficulties there, as I think there's George McDonald caught back up with Huell there. Huell's been I think he's taken advantage of a bit of hesitancy from Huell on some of these GT4 cars, but Razor, I think Huell and McDonald are side by side on my over monitor. As
Razor over the curb!
Yeah, it's all going on, Jesse Lee, isn't it?
It really is. This is very close stuff. The Chevrolet nearly tagging the wall, exiting the S's. I thought Jordan Daly was going to have a run on at least John Razor. It didn't happen. It wasn't on. But here comes John Razor looking down to the inside and absolutely not on. Coming through the bus stop that time. Thought for a split second he was going to try it. Ends up not doing it. Crossover move. Looking down to the inside of the carousel. No overlap there. Verstappen is clear for the moment, but absolutely not out of the woods. You would have thought, with the head of steam that Verstappen caught a Razor with, some 1.5 seconds at least, that the Chevrolet would have been able to pull away, but that has not been the case. The power of the draft could be very mighty here for the McLaren. Eraser not willing to sit in the rears, looking for any opportunity to repass Verstappen for the lead in the silver class. Who knows how important this might be at the end of the championship season, and they are playing it very close to their vest today.
I was about to say, Jesse, one of the frustrations for Verstappen at the minute now is he's a big brick in the air at the minute. He's creating some nice big hole for that McLaren just to sit into and just get some draft at the minute. So Verstappen's having to punch so much air just to get through. But yeah, Eraser at the minute's got a nice, not easy time. Certainly, it's Verstappen, so he's going to not actually have a bit of a difficult time keeping up. But one thing that will be helping is the fact that he's just sitting in this draft at the minute now. I think they've had a bit of a equal exit out of turn one. I don't think Eraser's going to go for it. I think it's just a bit of a reminder that, hey, Christoph, I'm still here, mate.
He needs to stop hitting the curbs in that McLaren is what he's doing, is what's messing him up. If he would just run the center of the racetrack and not hit the curbs, I think he'd be a lot better off. But he's losing a lot of momentum doing that in that low-slung car. Obviously, the Chevy can do it. It's not a big deal. The BMW also a little bit. The McLaren, not so much. But look at that McLaren, so slippery in the air, pulling out. Good. He's going to take a look and falls back in line. Daly closes up, has to hit the brakes a little prematurely there. A little bit of respect between Eraser and Daly as they're all in it together. Jordan's sitting there going, I wish they'd just wreck each other. Just get out of my way.
Well, I'd say that's probably what Jordan Daly's thinking at the minute in the nicest possible way.
Yes, in a nice way. It's not a malicious, wreck each other. It's I would rather not be looking at you anymore. No offense, of course.
No, indeed. But yeah, I think one thing that's going to be frustrating for Verstappen at the minute is just how much legs this McLaren's got on him. Like, McLaren, I'd say, is one of the fastest of the GT4 cars, if not the fastest. If it's not the fastest, then it'll be this car here, the BMW M4 GT4 of Jordan Daly, as one of the fastest cars in a straight line. But Verstappen, not only is he creating a draft for these two cars behind, but these two cars behind are faster in a straight line anyway. So down that straight towards the bus stop is going to be the point where Verstappen's going to have to look in his rearview mirrors, I think. But even then, going back to what we talked about before, we get a bit excited as they go side by side through the bus stop. But it is worth pointing out that it's just a bit of posturing, I'd say, Jesse Lee. I don't think Eraser or Daly would, unless it was side by side, I don't think it's worth diving into the bus stop trying to take a position.
I think in 28 and a half minutes time, I think it's worth it. It's worth a shot to maybe try and pull something off. But
I'll hold you to that one, Jesse Lee.
Yeah, I don't think now it is. I absolutely agree that now is not the right time. You will have noticed as well, Eraser was nowhere near as close to Verstappen that time by the start-finish line as they were the previous lap, and it hurt them. They got up on the curb again, slowed them down. Daly had a little peak as well, and not nearly as close here to even make a fake run or a dummy here. Going through the grass is going to be sideways. That's going to go off. He's got to be careful. There's a big bump there. He's hit the bump. He somehow saved it from the wall. Anybody who's ever driven this racetrack knows that there's a bump and a ditch out there, and John Eraser must have hit it before because he knew it was there. If you try to turn the steering when you hit it, you end up wrecking out in front of whoever's behind you. A big slide there, a big bump here over the access road. He's able to save it and keep going, but he's going to forfeit second place. Daly up to P2 in a day that had started off with so much promise for John Eraser has seen him somehow at the back of this train now.
Yeah, I'd say Jesse Lee, I think he had a bit of understeer coming into the bus stop, which forced him to adjust his line through there. So I'm not really sure how much that is, but well played to John Eraser though to recover that car as cleanly as he could. I couldn't have done that. He's only lost a position to Jordan Daly. It's not a massive disaster, and even then he's less than a second behind this group. And also just to point out, Verstappen is less than 2 seconds ahead of him. As we move now to other parts of the races, we see Rudy Fullmaster there. Currently where are we now? We're P3 in class at the minute. Everyone bar Harvey in the KTM and Sarah Stant in the Maserati have pitted in GT4 AM. But Van der Wood in the 38 there, just ahead of us. That's Sarah Stant ahead of us. I think they both, they both have the same coloured Maserati, so a bit difficult to spot straight away. But yeah, I think as we move on to this is Huel and McDonald just coming through the boot section now. As Huel nearly has a moment there off on the grass. You don't probably not a good idea being on the grass. You want to be on the tarmac, don't you, Jesse Lee?
Yeah, the tarmac has more grip than the grass. It doesn't matter what kind of car you're in. That will always be true. Raphael Huel trying to get by McDonald. Of course, Boardman has set sail. Remember how they were all 4 cars together, the Porsche Cup cars? Well, not anymore. Boardman has a 6-second lead on McDonald and Huel. All 3 of those leading cars still have a pit stop to give today. Vic Osland, who pitted very early on, has rebounded all the way to 4th place in that class. Yan Yo has not left pit lane since they came in some 8 to 9 laps ago. Something obviously amiss with the 48 Porsche Cup car, and they have not rejoined us here. Boardman, though, still has a healthy lead. McDonald, Huel fighting each other. Jordan Daly, who has spent the entire race patiently in 3rd place, the caboose, if you will, on the locomotive, has found themselves now, I don't know, what would we call this? The dining car, perhaps. And they're trying to be the train driver here. And they'll have to get by Verstappen before they can take that honor. I think, and I may be wrong here, the BMW just a little bit more special around some of these corners than the Chevy.
You know what, Jesse? It's stuck. The question's stuck in my head now. Why do you call it a caboose?
I don't know.
When Google it.
When I think of a caboose, by the way, we're getting off subject.
You don't think of that. You don't think.
No. We're going to finish this conversation. This is how we do it here at RCI. An American thinks of a caboose when they close their eyes. They picture a red wooden box on the back of a train. That's a caboose.
Okay, good. Christian being funny in our ears at the minute, but
he's definitely referencing zoo animals
he's trying to be
now.
Funny. He's trying to be funny, Jesse Lee. But let's just leave the funny business man on the microphone. But,
oh dear, Christian Stricker, love to have him back. Obviously, had a summer away, back with us here, broadcasting Thursdays. And man, can I just say how much I miss working with Christian on a weekly basis. Daily flashing the lights. I don't think that is for Verstappen. I think that was more for the KTM of, please don't hold me up. I'm trying to win a race here.
Well, I was going to say KTM, one of the more difficult cars to try and control, really. It's one of those ones at the extreme end of the low speed, high cornering sort of potential cars. But Harvey there has pitted, but is still ahead of Sarah Stant at the minute, who is still yet to hit. Yeah, as we see Van der Wood at the minute, P1 in class, 5 minutes to go. Doing a fairly solid job, I think, as well. There's still got like 4 seconds to Pimblott, who is P2. There he is there, just to ask him, just flick across your screen. But yeah, Jesse Lee, very solid, followed out in Van der Wood.
Do keep in mind, Mike Redford was pole position in the Alpine. They had their issues. We saw the front of the 95 smashed up a little bit. They've since done their mandatory pit stop, and I have detected that the front end damage on the Alpine is fixed, but that has unfortunately put them outside the podium positions. Neil Pimblott was in the lead for just about half a lap. They came into pit, and after the sequence of pit stops were complete in the GT4 AM class, Van der Wood has taken the lead in that Maserati. Maserati, of course, we haven't explicitly mentioned why it's hard to drive. We talked about Sarah Stant's car earlier. Just for the uninitiated, perhaps, the Maserati is the only car in the GT4 class that doesn't have ABS, traction control, any of that. It's all done with your feet and your hands. There's no electronic aids in that car. The only one of its kind.
Yeah, I mean, you probably should point out as well that Porsche Cup cars do have ABS. They don't have TC. So, an extra level of difficulty. I certainly can't drive without ABS. Jesse Lee, my left foot's a bit too heavy for for no ABS. So full credit to Van der Wood and Stant out there as we see Andy Boardman now just come up to light. Was that Van der Wood in front of us? I think that is Van der Wood in front of us. Yeah, but one of these things, obviously, he's fairly cozy at the minute. I see Andy Boardman. I think Huel and McDonald are only just coming through the boot or the bus stop at the minute. So Boardman has plenty of time to take his time with some of this GT4 traffic. But obviously, as we said at the top of the broadcast, GT4 obviously some of these one of the skills to do GT Cup cars in this championship is to manage traffic very well. As we now move to Daly and Verstappen, John Racer's just gone back a bit. Jesse Lee, there he is. There he's about 2 seconds behind Jordan Daly at the minute, but Daly is keeping Verstappen honest. I mean, Verstappen's probably getting sick and tired of this now. He's had no respite last week with Skrillex. He's had no respite with Daly and a Razor on him this week. So he's gonna if Verstappen wins again for the second week in a row in class, it won't. He's had a massive two-wheel moment out to the bus stop there. But yeah, Jesse, I was about to say, Verstappen certainly, if he wins today, he'll certainly have earned the 2 wins he's had the last 2 weeks after a very hard day at the office last week, and it's not going straightforward so far this week either.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. Phil, you know that about me, and I look at Verstappen, and I know he's battle hardened. He's won a lot of races. He's won races in a lot of different cars too, and he probably relishes the opportunity to race like this. The way you get better in any sort of sport is you compete against or with people that are better than you, that elevate you. I think we all agree on that. And in racing, one of the ways you can get better at driving, the mechanics of driving, defending, driving in traffic, the mental part of it as well. The only way to really get better at that is to be put into pressure cooker situations like he's had for the last couple of weeks. And you know how good you really are when you can take the heat for what has literally been 40 minutes of this race thus far, and will likely continue throughout the duration and hold up and stand the test of that. Those are the 2 Maseratis, by the way. That's what Phil Roberts was alluding to earlier. 2 Maseratis, both of them yellow, and other than the number, hard to tell them apart from us from our commentary position. But that highlights what Phil Roberts was saying earlier. They are all, well, they are identical except for the number.
Yeah, but it's a nice bit of coincidence that we got to see that demonstrated just like there as we move to. Let's see how really.
It's not good odds either.
The cameras move. We're still on Raphael Huel. That's only George McDonald still in front of him. Yeah. Sorry.
I was just gonna say it's not good odds too that 2 people would be brave enough to drive the Maserati, which I think we can all agree one of the hardest cars to drive in ACC, probably the hardest car to drive in ACC. And they would also race in the same champ at the same time, in the same car, with the same color. That is, somebody do the math. That's got to be long odds.
I just oofed because I just saw Daly's car just slam into the ground after coming back on the track there. But hell of a spark there. But yeah, I think Daly's now. I think Verstappen's been looking after his tyres or something. He's gained about a second and a bit since we last tuned into this trio of cars. One of the 6 cars yet to pit, or 6 Jordan Daly. We still have the top 3 overall to pit, and we still have these 3 here in your screen right now: Verstappen, Daly, and a Razor still yet to pit. But yeah, there's plenty of drama still to go. I think we're probably going to see 20. So these lot will probably have 21 laps to go, I'd say. So, no, hang on. I've done that wrong, sorry. About 11 laps to go. Sorry, Jesse, I did my maths completely wrong there.
Well, as somebody who often does their maths wrong, I can certainly forgive that particular thing. But also, I just want to make a correction. I've been told by Tom Bryant that it is not a coincidence that there are 2 identical yellow Maseratis. They both drive for Kvetch, and that's why they are identical cars. I thought it was coincidental. Turns out they're teammates.
Usually like with teams though, they usually have like different colored things. Famously, of course, you had Sauber back when they did Le Mans, and also when they did F1 back when they had Red Bull sponsorship and stuff. One of their cars had red wing mirrors, and the other had yellow, which has been the case since they had those Mercedes. What they done? The C6 or something like that, wasn't it? The one that won Le Mans. But either way, Verstappen's made a bit of a mistake coming through the bus stop, I think. And Jordan Daly's now just about right on his back here at the minute. John Araser is about 2.5 seconds, 2.5 seconds just behind. So yeah, there's still much to play for, and it's a reminder, of course. It may be that you're about a nice second cushion, but it only takes a little mistake round here, Jesse Lee, and you're back under pressure again.
Well, hello to everyone that may be joining us a little bit late. You have missed a great race, I will admit, and on top of that, though, we do have a grandstand finish for you. The top 3 in the top 2 categories still have to do their mandatory pit stop, 1 liter of fuel and all of that, but there is a race on for the GT4 silver top spot, and it was a 3-way. Now it's down to these 2 for the time being. Verstappen had just about lost Daly. It was 1.5 seconds and going away for Verstappen, and then that little bit of a mistake has brought Daly right back into it here, right onto the back bumper of the number 7 Camaro for the time being. Sunrise, I should say. I was going to say, it is weird.
Get your compass out, Jesse, come on. It's clearly the east.
My one just spins around. Those rare earth metals, I think, is what's going on.
Oh, okay.
But, that is absolutely
in New York.
The sunrise. But beyond that, there might be a sunrise on Jordan Daly taking the lead of this race, looking down to the inside, gives a look, maybe put a fender on him, but decided at the last possible second that they did not want to be in that position and fell back in line. How many times have we seen that happen here today? Sometimes you do that, Phil, and you're trying to test the driver in front of you. Are you just going to let me have it? Maybe not. Verstappen was not willing to let that go. Daly wasn't willing to risk everything at that particular moment.
No, and I was going to say, Jesse, we've got Christian shouting "send it" in our ears, and it's like, come on, Christian, behave yourself. It's not going to happen just yet. Predictably gets disappointed when Daly doesn't send it, But yeah, we're probably gonna see some fireworks later on. Still got 50 minutes of this race as see a race. Whoa, what happened there, Jesse Lane? I think Redford's just seen somebody go disappear and just wondered if he's entered the X-Files or something.
That's exactly what's happened. Mike Redford saw a ghost here at Watkins Glen, and I think they drove off the racetrack trying to get away from whatever specter was haunting them at the time being. Nothing wrong with the car, it doesn't appear. Looked like that was maybe self-preservation a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not really sure Watkins Glen's haunted, but I think that was Tom Watts's Ginetta. So we'll just have to check. I think Tom Watts is still alive and not a ghost, so we should be okay on that point. I think Verstappen's had a bad exit through turn 1. Jordan Daly's now gone side by side. I think he's definitely got the legs to go around the straight there, but Verstappen probably not under that much pressure, but he's going to be kicking himself, Jesse Lee, that he's let the lead go so easily to Jordan Daly.
Oh, he sure will. That was very frustrating. The Chevrolet will maybe have a little bit of legs here, especially the angle they were able to take. He's going to be squeezed around the outside. Daly not willing to give up the inside. Daly's going to go a little bit too wide of the bus stop. He's going to take the jump, Dukes of Hazzard style, side by side into the carousel. The Chevrolet goes back out in front. Verstappen holds even after a terrible turn 1. Kept his calm, kept his cool, drove into the grass, somehow able to get it back, and now Jordan Daly will be kicking himself.
Yeah, that was some fantastic bit of driving from Verstappen there. As much as it looked like he was on the bit of the back foot because Daly forced him wide, Verstappen kept his foot there, forced Daly to do a shallow entry into the bus stop, and obviously that's just thrown him up on the curb on the right hand side as you enter, and that's obviously forced him to understeer through there and compromised his exit, tried to keep his foot in, went over, as you say, Dukes of Hazzard style over the chicane curb. But yeah, pretty, again, as a racer though, we have to point out, pretty impressive driving though to after that, though, to keep the car in a straight line and not cause an incident. So, yeah, not well done, Jordan Daly, keep getting in that position, but well done to not make it worse than it actually was, or ended up being, sorry.
I thought that car was going to end up backwards regardless of contact. It's so difficult to control it when it flies up in the air like that, and I think this is a brilliant move here. Daly not willing to go any further. The Triple R BMW coming down pit lane. They will be one of the first to blink in the top 10. John Razor also following him in, agreeing with the strategy call here. Keep in mind the top 3 in the Porsche Cup category still yet to pit here, and they only have 11 minutes, 20 seconds left to go until the pit window closes. Here is the Grease Weasel Racing. Don't know why that was hard to say. Andy Boardman in the 69, who I may have called every number except the 69 earlier. He's got himself a nice lead. It was 6.5 last we checked. It's 7.3. It has stabilized somewhat at 7.3 in the last several laps. McDonald hanging on to second, doing a good job there. 4.5 back to Raphael Huell. Hard to believe that 15, 20 minutes ago, all 3 of those cars were nose to tail. They've separated themselves from each other. Vic Osland, the only car inside the top 5 that has completed their mandatory pit stop. The 36 completed their stop almost immediately in this race. And I'm quite curious if they will gain any more ground on the cycle of pit stops. I believe the 36 was off the racetrack on the first lap.
Yeah, so obviously as we see move to Raphael Huell now, he's I think he's I'm going to look at my screen now. He's about 5 seconds off from George McDonald. Yeah, just under, just about 4.5. So I think he's just about losing pace, but he's still in a solid P3 at the minute for his troubles. There's still plenty of this race to go. And obviously they still have to come around. They have about 8-second advantage on these GT4, so they'll still be lapping again. As Christoph Verstappen now pits Jesse Lee, this will be key for the race now. Jordan Daly and John Razor are about 3 turns away from the end. I think they're about, what's this now? They're about, they're into nearly coming up through the third to last corner now. So we'll see as Verstappen now, where is he? I think he's not reached his box yet, so this is going to be very close for the on exit.
Jordan Daly had a near-on perfect stop. It was a nice stop, no issues for the 197. The number 7 has to have a perfect stop here, and I don't think it will be nearly as quick as here comes the 7, released out of the pit lane and off of the limiter for the long right-hander. It's going to be neck and neck. Who's got the momentum? There's going to be more heat in the 197's tires, but the 7's just going to be out in front. Will Daly try to go too wide through the S's? No, they will not. Single file, nose to tail, exactly how they came in. What an excellent stop from Daly. What an excellent stop from Verstappen as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of those frustrating. Oh, I think Verstappen's slaying through. What's going on here?
What on earth have we just seen? Christoph Verstappen has just given up the lead, what appeared to be voluntarily now. Jordan Daly out front, Verstappen in second place. We're trying to get an eyeball on the eyeballs of the man who did that. What kind of 5D, 5-head move did we just see from the 7?
I feel like we're watching an anime at the minute, Jesse Lee. Like the protagonist or the antagonist has just let his rival through.
Christian Stricker disapproves of the tactics.
Indeed, I'm not really sure what's going through Verstappen's mind at the minute. Maybe he thinks Daly's going a bit faster and he's a bit worried about Eraser behind, but
no,
I'm not sure about that one. But
I think I got it.
We'll have to get him in the comms box afterwards and just ask him, what were you thinking when you came in?
I think I got it.
Go on.
I think Verstappen would rather be the one that gets the opportunity in the final 9 minutes to make the pass on a place where Daly cannot possibly fight back than to be the one that is trying to be passed, knowing that they're of similar pace. That is an interesting move, if true. It's very risky.
Pointlessly risky, Jesse.
Listen, it's just crazy enough it might work.
I don't think Verstappen and Crazy have ever been.
There is literally no other reason why you would do that, though.
No, I honestly do not buy this theory whatsoever, Jesse Lee.
So what? So why did he slow down on the straight?
Well, I don't know. Maybe he just wanted some fun or something. You know, like maybe he's like, you know, if you ever see a cat when it's got like its prey or something like that, it plays with its prey, it doesn't kill it straight away. So maybe that's what Verstappen's doing. He's just having a bit of a But we'll see. I'm not sure you should be doing that.
He slid it in there.
Really putting this pressure on Jordan Daly at the minute, and obviously, as we said before, the Chevrolet can really eat up those curbs, almost like it's a rally car. To be honest, Jesse Lee, the ground clearance and how soft those springs are on that car.
Yeah, one of our chatters has pointed out maybe it's because he crossed the pit exit line, but I don't know what slowing down halfway down the back straight, how that equates. But then again, I don't know any other better ideas. Very strange circumstances. Verstappen trying to get around Daly for the lead in GT4 Silver. Meanwhile, this fight for what is effectively the lead of GT4 AM. Neil Pimlott, the car that we were concerned hadn't set a qualifying lap up into P2, looking to take the lead away from Van der Wood for GT4 AM. Raphael Huell has had enough. The fastest car on the racetrack has come into the pit lane, the first to blink of the top three cars. Keep in mind, they were all separated by more than about 5 seconds apiece. It will take a massive undercut to do something with that. But Neil Pimlott, the Optimum Racing liveried car, right on the back of Van der Wood now.
We come back again, Jesse Lee, to again the fight for P1 in GT4 overall between Verstappen and Daly. You can just about see John O'Reilly's black and white McLaren just coming through turn one there as we exit now. You can just about borrow enough curb there, so long as you keep your right-hand tires. Your right-hand tires on that curb, you should be fine. Verstappen here just sitting in this in the wake of Jordan Daly now, coming up to the bus stop. Jordan Daly shuffling, whatever, just Jordan.
Oh, he hit the wall! He smacked it!
I don't think there was any contact between Daly and Verstappen though, Jesse Lee, but Verstappen there probably just didn't see the barrier or something as until it was too late, obviously.
Incredible moves, incredible scenes here. Verstappen came out of pit lane in front of the BMW, fell back. It looked almost voluntary. I don't know why you would do that, but it looked almost voluntary. Maybe it was to adhere to some rule that we're unaware of based on a pit blend line, or maybe there was something amiss with the car. I have no idea what happened. And now the number 7 tagging the wall, exiting the S's. And as we go back a little bit further, actually just behind Van der Wood in the Maserati, leading the Aston behind him. That's Neil Pimlott. The fight for the win in AM also very, very well and truly on. 2 fights for 2 different classes here. It's all about pride here. Who is going to make the move and win? Where does Verstappen make the move?
I think it's more about who's going to make the move, but I think it's who's going to crack first, to be honest, Jesse Lee. As we see Verstappen now and Jordan Daly just come through this final corner. Jordan Daly even taking that penultimate corner a bit too wide at the minute. 5 minutes to go for these cars, so we're probably going to see another 2 or 3, probably 3 more laps at the line now between these cars. So plenty of action still to go. But yeah, I'm not really sure what my mind's still going back to a couple of laps ago. What was Verstappen doing, letting Jordan Daly by?
We got to know, right? At least for our own sanity, we've got to. I will not be able to sleep tonight unless I figure out what Christoph was doing there. Here it is, though. Verstappen making a move down to the inside. It's going to force the BMW wide. Daly is not going to likely give this up. They're going to go side by side into the bus stop, but it's been done. The move made. The number 7, Christoph Verstappen, back out into the lead, taken through the bus stop. Jordan Daly couldn't do anything about it from the outside position, but what has he got now? He's followed the entire race as they run off the racetrack there, entering the boot. Jordan Daly has followed this entire race. He has the biggest notebook of everyone on what to do from the shotgun position. What can he do? 3.5 minutes left to go. A few more opportunities only to make the pass a third time to take the lead in the silver class. This is a classic race.
It is a classic. I was about to say we can put Verstappen's pass on Daly in an art gallery. To be honest, it was that smooth and silky. As we go back to Van der Wood and Pimlott here, who've come out the carousel, coming into the boot section now.
I just noticed Van der Wood's car has damage on the nose.
And does it? It's a little bit bonk, but you're in a Maserati, Jesse Lee. You don't need. You've got bigger things to worry about than aero in that car, to be honest. But yeah, I think keeping an eye on my other monitor at the minute because I don't want to miss much from the Verstappen Daly fight. But we're missing much now as the Pimlott keeping Van der Wood honest in the minute, but Van der Wood in the 38 doing a fantastic job at the minute, just keeping Pimlott at bay. Still got another 2 laps at the line, I'd say. We've still got 2 minutes and 4. Verstappen just can't see on my over screen.
Oh, here he goes! Daly's back by him! He got him down the front straight and into turn 1. Jordan Daly making the move. He closes the door up the S's, and he's got it done. Also worth mentioning, Andy Boardman has to come down pit lane this time. Otherwise, that's going to be a massive penalty for absolutely no reason. Here comes the Chevrolet again. Thinks about making a move, doesn't, falls back in line, and suddenly a car that was more than 2 seconds behind is right back in the fight as well. Here comes John Araser again.
I was going to say John Araser was not really in this race about 5 minutes ago. It's about 2 seconds back. But we're going to see a race replay. I think we're going to see a replay of, a bit of the technological problems here, Jesse Lee. We were hoping to try and get it, but yeah, it's almost. But if you see there, just again, we're going to see this little peak from Verstappen.
Oh, a little wide from Daly.
I think Daly's gone wide with the hairpin, a bit of side by side coming into the. I think it's a right-hander coming up, so it's the inside line for Verstappen now. I think he's probably going to have this one. He can control the Jesse Lee, the
touch.
A little touch from Jordan Daly there, but Daly gives him a bit of a flash. I mean, that's probably just a bit of a sorry, mate. But yeah, Verstappen there, inside line, control when Daly turned in, and again a very neat turn. But Jesse Lee, I'm not really sure if we're going to have another lap after this next one they're on.
We're coming up. This will likely be the final lap of the race that they're getting ready to take the white flag here. Boardman did make his pit stop in time, clean pit stop as well. He's looking like he's going to come around and win this race. 1 lap to go for these 3 drivers. Verstappen leading Daly, leading Eraser, who we ride on board with here. Which one of the 3 will come out on top? One more shot, 1 more lap to get it done.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to see. I think Verstappen's just a bit too far ahead of Jordan Daly at the minute. You can just about see there's a nice gap there. You can probably fit a whole car between those 2 at the minute. So, well, maybe 2 actually, looking at that now. But yeah, it's probably very cozy for Verstappen for this part of the track. But I don't think.
Oh, he gained so much ground.
Yeah, I think you can afford to eat that much curb in these cars. As Verstappen had an oversteer.
Oh, Verstappen made a mistake.
Yeah, we're just coming into the boot section now. It's a right-hander coming up, or is it left-hander? It's left-hander now. Sorry. Tell you what, this camera angle's putting me putting my directions off. But yeah, Daly's he's gained all of that time back, or gained that gap back now. But he obviously has to be very careful because he could make a move. He could make a move on Verstappen and end up behind a racer as Andy Boardman's now. Oh, well, just seen on my other monitor, Andy Boardman's gone across the line to win the race. So this is the final lap for these 3 cars coming into the right.
Daly's going to have one. He's going to have one opportunity, one shot. Mom spaghetti.
I think he's only got this next one coming up now. Verstappen has a little bit of a moment. No, he's not going to quite take that one. I think maybe if he's ambitious, if Verstappen makes a mistake through these last 2 corners, Jesse Lee, he's probably got a chance. But Verstappen now, I think he's only just got to not make a mistake coming out of these last 2 corners.
Oh, Oh, wiggle from Daly. I think that's going to be just about it. Oh, he's going to take a lunge. He nearly got there to the back of the Chevy. He almost tagged him. He doesn't. What a race. Boardman wins it over McDonald and Huell. Verstappen comes back and wins it. They swap the lead 2 or 3 times in the final few laps. Daly second, and Razor settles for third. What a ridiculous race here in New York State.
I was a bit worried we only had 15 cars, but I've been thoroughly entertained with.
Boardman just found out that the barriers are solid.
Andy Boardman there, making sure that RCI barriers are solid, and he's proved that today. With the
sure has
very, very safe barriers there.
By the way, the AM battle has not crossed the line. In fact, here it is. Vanderwood will hold on to win this race over Neil Pimlott. A very close affair. That damaged Maserati still good enough to get the win. And GT4 AM, well done. Rudy Philmalter will come home in third place in that category ahead of Tom Watts, Redford, Harvey, and Stant. Yan Yo will not get credit for a finish here today, I'm afraid, by virtue of not finishing 85% of the race.
I was about to say that Eraser, Daly, and Verstappen were all running in formation down the back straight there. So nice bit of show of respect there from.
You gotta love and appreciate a race like that, though, don't you, Phil? It's like you may have lost the battle, but it was a fun war. Nobody got turned around. Nobody made any significant contact. The only significant contact was Verstappen into the wall on his own accord. That was the only thing that happened there. And beyond that, just good racing. This is the replay of the formation flying. They did, like you said, Phil, in appreciation and respect of each other.
Yeah, we've been spoiled the last 2 weeks for some of the racing from some of these guys. And full credit to all 3 of them, to be honest. Gave us a good show. Absolutely no quarters given, but at the same time, respect when quarters had to be given as well. But very impressive driving from all 3, to be honest. And can't forget Andy Boardman. We haven't really seen much of him today, but full credit to him, though. A nicely controlled race from Andy Boardman again in the 69 to win overall. And I think George McDonald, good opening bit of the stint until his little mistake for the bus stop, but still recovered well to finish P2.
Well, Boardman continues his torrid pace in the Porsche Cup category. His only blemish on his record at this point is a second place in South Africa, week 1. And right now, that's his drop round. He's been perfect everywhere else. 45 points across the board, including today. You can't ask for anything more than that. Rudy Philmalter, who didn't have the perfect race today, but didn't really have to. Still, it's going to be even closer, is what I'm saying, between him and Neil Pimlott. Pimlott didn't get the win, but did finish in front. It's going to be less than 10 points as we go into round number 5 in 1 week's time. And, of course, Verstappen, virtue of winning today's race, will further his points lead. Jordan Daly will jump Skrillex, I think, in the championship points because of his fantastic finish as well. And we go on. The circus goes on to another racetrack, another week. How many great races in a row can we have?
Actually, I was going to check how many races we got left, Jesse, because I was about to give that as my answer, to be honest. We have 2 more, so I'm going to say we're going to have 2 more fantastic bits of racing.
I love the thought. But we have Nürburgring and Misano in 1 week's time. We will be at the Nürburgring, and that place has often put on some fantastic shows as well, and we have certainly been spoiled here today. My hat's off to everybody out there. 3 different classes, 3 different fights for the podium today. 2 of them came right down to the wire. Phil Roberts, class act racing out there. Not a lot of contact, almost no contact as far as I'm concerned, car to car. A lot of drivers racing the racetrack, racing each other, doing it the right way.
Indeed, it's a good advertisement for what we do here in RCI from everyone who's racing tonight. As you say, some fantastic racing. I just noticed, Jesse Lee, I'm going to drag him in. I just noticed we have a Christoph Verstappen who's come here to answer some questions, hopefully, Jesse Lee. Now, Christoph, hello. Can you hear us?
Good evening, guys. Good
Good,
evening.
good evening. Christoph, me and Jesse had one question, and we're hoping you can answer it. I want you to cast your mind back to when you came out the pit lane and Jordan Daly was right behind you. Now, can you please elaborate on why it looked like you let Jordan Daly through on purpose to us, Christoph?
Yeah, I crossed the line on the pit exit, and in my opinion, it was not totally fair to take that position.
I see. I think that's what Jesse Lee was talking about, weren't you, Jesse?
Well, a very eagle-eyed chatter pointed out that maybe that was why you did that. I thought that was absolutely absurd that you would do that live in a race, Verstappen, but that is incredible sportsmanship.
Oh yeah, but we had such a great race all the way, so I wouldn't want to take a position like that then.
No, I must. We were saying, Christoph, before you joined the box. It's been a great piece of advertising for the racing that we have here, both this week and last week. If you can cast your mind back as well to the fight you had with Skrillex Zandvoort last week. So it's been a difficult 2 weeks for you. Would you say that?
Yeah.
Two hard-earned wins.
Yeah, I would say it was quite intense. I had like no minute to take a rest during the race, so yeah. But I like it though. That's what you want.
Well, it certainly passes the time for us, and hopefully it at least passed the time for you a bit faster, Christoph. Yeah, so very impressive. That must have been.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
Very impressed, Christoph. Yeah.
Well, it was another fantastic victory. It's well deserved. Thank you for winning in a Chevrolet in America. For me, a bald eagle. Every time somebody does that, a bald eagle gets its wings or something. I'm pretty sure that's a story we tell at some place. Can you keep this up, Verstappen, into the final couple of rounds?
Sorry, you can talk now. Sorry, I muted him.
I am not totally sure, guys, because the car feels different like every week. Like today, it didn't feel so great. But yeah, luckily we were on the same pace with the McLaren and the Beamer. But I have no clue what next week is going to be like. But I'm going to give it my all, that's for sure.
That's all I guess, really.
Exactly. I guess we're just going to have to find out. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner in GT4 Silver today. It was a hard-fought battle. It was a deserved win as well. Christoph Verstappen, congratulations.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too. Take a well-earned rest. Phil, I would have never guessed. I would have bet the farm and lost. What ridiculous sportsmanship we just witnessed. The man said, I felt like I crossed the line and gained an advantage, and I didn't want to do it that way. Fell back, had to make the pass 2 more times, and win the race.
He did it the hard way, but honest to a fault, I'd say Christoph Verstappen there. But complete full credit to him, Jesse Lee as well. Just adds to the sportsmanship we've seen tonight from both him, Daly, and Eraser. So yeah, complete full credit, and he's obviously had, as he said in his own words, has to earn it the hard way there. So yeah, very impressive driving, and obviously, like we said before, the time really did pass those last 20 minutes thanks to those three battling it out for the lead.
Admittedly, I kept watching and waiting for it to go wrong, and it very nearly did about half a dozen times, but the pinpoint precision of the driving between the trio up front kept it from coming to that. Folks, we're done here today, but we're not done this week. We have more racing action for you tomorrow. The continuation of RCI's longest Friday champ continues. The GT Sprint Challenge will be with you tomorrow evening for that. Night Owl on Saturday as per usual. And this coming Monday, the start of the long-awaited, the long-anticipated, and the underhyped, in my opinion, Ginetta Cup coming at you this week. And, of course, we'll be right back here with you in 1 week's time for the Nürburgring round number 5 here in the GT4 and Porsche Cup Mixed Class Championship. It's been 2 crazy weeks in a row, 2 fantastic grandstand finishes, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. On the top of that, of course, we got to thank our fantastic partners that make this race and every race possible. AK Informatica for providing our server solutions, Driver 61 and driver61.com. You can get 25% off your driver coaching by going to driver61.com and using our discount code. The link to that is in the description. Driver coaching can make you a better and faster sim racing driver. And of course, Fanatec. Feel free to use our affiliate link in the description of this video when making purchases of quality sim racing hardware from fanatec.com. Doesn't cost you a single penny no matter where you live in the world, and it helps us with things like server costs. When you use it, it tells them that we sent you. Thank you for using it, as you have been doing the past year or two. And on top of that, Phil Roberts, final thoughts on the day.
Final thoughts. Well, I don't know where to start, Jesse Lee. We've seen some brilliant racecraft from at least, I'd say at least from 3 drivers, but that would be unfair on the other 12 drivers. I think we've seen some great racing from everyone out there today. Few spins, but they've been like on their own doing, but they'll probably be the first to admit that. That's fine. But yeah, it's some absolutely great racing. And the last hour has just flown by. So full credit to everyone.
Fantastic professionalism, respect, and that's how you're supposed to draw it up. A great racetrack, a great race, and a great championship continues into a next week. You know, I started the broadcast talking about you can't win the championship here, but you can lose it. Nobody fell into that trope today, and that deserves the plaudits, surely. Folks, on behalf of everybody here on the broadcast team at RCI, I've been Jesse Lee, joined by Phil Roberts with Christian Stricker behind the cameras. We thank you for watching tonight's race. We'll be back with you tomorrow and throughout the next week. We appreciate you watching. Thanks for being with us on your way out. Like, subscribe, do all the things. We would love to see you back. And, of course, you can join any of our series. Doesn't matter what your skill level is. RaceRCI.com, RACERCI.com. You can join any season mid-season, and you still have time to make race number 1 of the Monday Ginetta Cup Championship. No matter what your skill level, we have a split for you. We'd love to see you on the track. But on behalf of everybody here at RCI, thanks for watching, and until next time, have a good night.